Few rock bands embody the psychedelic spirit of the late 60s and 70s better than Pink Floyd. But not everyone familiar with the British group remembers the charismatic leader who paved its way. Syd Barrett is one of rock history's most enigmatic and elusive icons. Born Roger Keith Barrett in Cambridge, England, he helped found the band Pink Floyd in 1965. As lead singer and guitarist, he laid the foundation for the band's dreamlike sound and chromatic light shows, but a drug-induced breakdown a couple years later forced him to leave the group during its rise to fame. Barrett withdrew from public life, but his legacy continued to influence and inspire some of Pink Floyd's most powerful songs, including the 1975 tribute, Shine On You Crazy Diamond.
Without Syd, there wouldn't have been a Pink Floyd, and he gave them a certain direction which Roger built on.
By the time the Floyd became well known all over the world, Dave Gilmour was the figurehead and front person, and Roger Waters were the sort of twin frontmen of the Floyd.
They couldn't carry on with him, and even though Syd, which they've always recognized and always given him credit for, it was the catalyst.
And there are a lot of people in Japan or, Australia or California or whatever that may never have heard of Syd Barrett. They would be astonished to hear that there was a guy at the beginning different than the lineup, that the lineup wasn't the same at the beginning. I was working at Elektra Records when I first heard the Floyd. They asked me to produce this single, and I agreed. So we went in the studio, and everybody agreed that Arnold Layne was the song.
It was Syd. I don't remember the rest of the band. I don't remember thinking about it. I don't remember meeting them. I don't remember. All I remember was there was this extraordinary, charismatic character. I saw Syd as, in a way, like maybe like a French symbolist poet or an English romantic. I did a show just of Syd pictures 3 or 4 years ago, and I remember the press calling him a poet maudit, a damned poet, and he conformed to that. I mean, in the pictures, especially the picture I took in '69, when he's wearing coal, he looks like that. He looks like a beautiful man, beautiful, brilliant, and damned.
People talked about him taking drugs. I never really noticed him being affected overly until the spring of '67, when he definitely started taking a lot of acid. And they came down to UFO to play this promised return gig, and the place was absolutely jammed. I mean, it was just heaving with people. And then Syd came. And the thing about Syd that was always so noticeable was his eyes. He had these sparkly, bright, dark eyes. And he came right this close to me, and it was like somebody turned a switch off. It just was nobody home. And he went up on stage and started to play, and then just dropped his hands like this, left his guitar hanging around on the strap. And the group had to kind of fill in. And this was the first of those events which eventually led to his leaving the group. And he became somebody that was recognized as a kind of first example of an acid casualty.
Acid casualty, well, it's a convenient label for him. There was a certain darkness that had descended upon Syd. I actually did the last ever interview with him in 1971. It was a little half-page thing for Rolling Stone magazine, and I took some pictures, the pictures in the garden of his mother's house. If Syd had not left the Floyd, because he clearly had a fragile psyche, he would not have lived as long as he did. And I believe that to be clear as day, that the pressures that their mega stardom brought on them, there's no way he could have dealt with it.
I think over the years, people have learned about Sid, partly because of the way the group has reminded them and informed people of Sid. And even if you haven't heard of Sid, you're feeling his influence when you listen to a Pink Floyd record, no matter what. So that's his first and biggest influence, in a way, is in creating this group, shaping this group, that even after he left, it's a bit like, homeopathic medicine, you can't find any traces of the mineral. They say that the surrounding molecules have a memory of that mineral that's no longer there. The other effect of Sid, I think, goes to what David Bowie said, about how it emboldened him to sing the way he talked, to be an estuary accent Englishman and just sing that way and not try to sound American, not try and sound like a Southerner, not try to sound like a black guy, not, just sound like who he was.
Oh, where are you now? Pussy willow that smiled on this leaf when I was alone.
The song that seems to tell the most about Sid is, in fact, that last track on A Saucer Full of Secrets. It's awfully considerate of you to think of me here, and I'm most surprised at you for making it clear that I'm not here, is Jug Band Blues. Or I suppose it's the time when he's transitioning out of Floyd, and whatever's going on inside of him, whatever confusion, is so embodied by that track.
It's awfully considerate of